Platform where these brands can see how often the photos are showing up that contain their brand logos or their competitors' logos, and we help them connect with the influencers that we're surfacing so that they can potentially form relationships with these people that are interacting with their brand. If you're measuring viewability, these types of ads produce much higher viewability than standard advertising. And obviously higher brand lift and brand recall. The types of visual content I'm referring to, are editorial content. So any images that are found on websites. It could be social content from social media. It could be on broadcast television. And increasingly today there's some opportunities to look to incorporate advertising in VR and AR environments. So to make all this possible, you have to have computer vision algorithms to really understand what's happening in that content, because we're talking about doing this type of execution at scale, which requires this type of processing of visual content. If you're not familiar with computer vision, it's basically using nowadays increasingly technology based on neural networks and something called deep learning. And the basic idea here is that you're building systems that you're going to be training with annotated content that you'll have to get somehow. So in this example here, if you can get thousands of images where somebody has labeled, where a dog is and draw a box around the dogs, and you feed it into this neural network, you can train the network much in the same way that somebody could train a human brain to understand where that object is in the photo or the video. And after that's done, you can feed in any any photo or video to the system and should be able to detect where that object is. The other type of computer vision algorithm that's used in this type of thing is tracking algorithms, because there's a certain cost with detecting where an object is, especially in a video. If you have to do that on every single frame of the video, it could be kind of expensive. So once you're able to make a detection, you can then employ tracking algorithms that do a better job of just finding something that was already detected in a previous frame and find that in every subsequent frame that it shows up in the video. So here's an example of an ad campaign that we ran a while ago for a television show about witches. What we did is we analyzed all the photos on the websites we work with to look for humans that were facing forward and locating their eyeballs. And the reason we did that is we could build an ad creative that would basically dynamically overlay green witch eyes on people's faces in the content. Kind of catches the user's attention, and then it kind of falls back down into sort of a display-looking advertisement at the bottom of the photo. So obviously very engaging, kind of surprising when users are looking at something and all of a sudden they see something happen in the visual content. Another example we did with Toyota. Here we're looking for people's heads, and the reason is they wanted to display a Santa hat on people in the photos. And again, this shows a couple different brand messages and then collapses down to a overlaid advertisement. And these advertisements, they're closable, they're just overlaid on the page, and we're not permanently altering the images. So we can do this at scale across thousands and thousands of pages and thousands of images. Another thing that we're working on related to advertising is doing this in real-time video. And this is an interesting one where the algorithms are looking for what we call negative space, areas of the photo that are not necessarily the foreground, where you could overlay advertising. Also, it's doing texture analysis. So in this one, we're going to be looking for the texture of a crowd of people. And in a minute, you will see an overlaid ad across the tops of the crowd of people here to a Pepsi ad. I think there might be one more coming up here that I'll wait for. There you go, T-Mobile ad. So outside of gumgum, obviously other people are doing this in different ways. One of the biggest examples is Snapchat, because with their sponsored face lenses platform, brands have been able to design creatives that rely on the computer vision actually tracking somebody's face, as you move around in a selfie. And they've had some very successful campaigns. This one is an example from Taco Bell, where it generated 12.5 years worth of play in a day just by having this content and advertising integrated in this way. And I don't have any examples in augmented reality because it's pretty new, but this is an area where a lot of people are focusing attention these days and trying to find a way where advertising can fit into augmented reality, but not in a way that it's going to be intrusive to the user. So there's a lot of exploratory work going on in this area. And that's it. Thank you very much. Can I take questions? Do you have any questions?